I think the most important thing is jobs. We absolutely have to create a growing economy in this country. The second thing is the deficit in spending. And on the jobs, we talked about deficit in spending, I'll talk about jobs. I think businesses are very uncertain now about what the future is going to be for them. Most people invest and grow their businesses want a 3 to 5 or 7, whatever their business model is, return on their investment. And when the stimulus, we had a $787 billion stimulus bill that's all borrowed money. So the deficit we're running threatens interest rates. You do two things to fund a deficit: you borrow or you print money. So you're either threatening interest rates or you threaten inflation. Then you get into the cap and trade bill that will raise energy rates. I don't care what anybody says, $4 gas is not good for our economy. I know that my opponent says that $4 gas is not a problem. But as I said, somebody asked me specifically about cap and trade, and I said, when we were living on a bubble, meaning there were a lot of things going on, particularly the mortgage industry with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and all of a sudden people went from $2 gas to $4 a gas almost overnight. It was over the course of the summer of 2008. So they were going from putting $40 worth of gas in their car to $80 worth of gas in their car. You multiply that by a week, you multiply that by 4 weeks, it's $160 when people were living on the edge. And all of a sudden that bill came. And you can marginally change your driving, but most people still have to drive to work, they still have to drive to the store, they still have to get their kids to school. So it's not something you can just really cut back on. And it just affected families. Families quit spending over the summer of 2008. And then what happened in the fall of 2008, it all kind of in September 2008. So businesses are looking at in the same way. If I'm going to have $4 gas to transport my goods, I don't think $4 gas. I think $4 gas is the floor if we pass cap and trade. Or energy prices. Go to Highway 60, right out where we're sitting, and drive from here to Hancock, Breckenridge, and Meade County, and you got Arch Chemical on the north end, and you've got your Domtar and the paper mill plants and Southwire and mills. All of those are energy-intensive industries. They're here because they have access to the river, and they have access to cheap energy. And when we raise the energy in Kentucky, they're going to lose. I think the other thing that we have to create certainty, the health care bill. The health care bill is the next 2 years to be implemented. No business can even say how it's going to affect them until they know what the rules are going to be. So I think we have to level the playing field, create certainty so businesses know what government's going to do to them. And then the second thing is, my part is that hopefully we're going to grow into a better economy and have workers with the skills to participate in those jobs. I have a bill called the Workforce Investment Act. I'm a manufacturing person from the back, manufacturing person, and I know that a tool and die maker, an industrial maintenance person, a computer programmer, we call a computer manufacturing machinery programmer, is more valuable to the company than somebody who's unskilled, who can sweep the floor or just pack parts. And the key to it is get people who have the skills to pack parts and sweep the floor and the skills to do those other things. And my major piece of legislation, my first term, that I'm pushing forward, and hopefully will be in a majority position to be able to continue to push it where it actually will go forward, is the Workforce Investment Act. Because we're going to turn this country around. It's going to grow again. But I was just stopped on the way here and talked to a guy, and he said, about some manufacturing jobs. But the lower skill jobs are going to be difficult to bring back. But what we're going to have growth in is it doesn't have to be computer jobs either. There's a guy here in Owensboro that has his own welding school because he does welding projects around the world, and he can't find welders, and he pays them to go to welding school. He pays them well once they become welders. And so if it's welders, if it's bricklayers, if it's plumbing, or if it's the fancy technical degrees such as computer-aided design and those types of things, we have to focus on that. And one of my passions that got me into state government, and I'm going to continue in the federal government, is it seems like when you graduate from high school, we say you go to college or you go to work. And there's a different level. And in Kentucky, under Governor Patton, give him credit, implemented our technical schools, KCTCS, that Owensboro has greatly benefited from with Owensboro Community College, and now with the Western Campus coming here. But those schools for people that aren't going to have 4-year degrees, but want to earn a good income for their family. And those are the people, that's how I grew up. My dad worked for Ford, and those are the people I grew up around. And I want to make sure we have that opportunity in this country again.
Briefly, what would the Workforce Investment Act do?
Well, it streamlines, as we said, we have all these different programs. If you lost your job because a company moved under NAFTA, if you lost your job for different reasons, and it streamlines the program. So, what we created, they're existing today, but it streamlines, and it gets real technical in our few minutes. But basically, we're local workforce investment boards with business people involved come together and to determine what kind of skills are needed in that community and what are industries looking for. Like if you're teaching pen draftsman, everybody wants computer-aided draftsman, and it sounds simple because everybody knows that drafting's down on the computer. But I remember in my personal experience, and when we all sit down and they're talking about what do we want to train at the technical school and where I'm from, and they had all these different ideas. And everybody was screaming, "We need people who can fix stuff. We need industrial maintenance people." And they said, "Well, really?" Kind of a shock to the people in the academic. And an industrial maintenance guy in Bowling Green, where I was from, when it was growing, when the community was growing, was in the mid-20s in their pay, and that's a middle-class income, mid-20s, $20 with not 20,000, but mid-20s in dollars with overtime. You get into the $50,000 to $60,000 a year income, and those are what I want to. It's more technical than that, the bill,
Sure.
But essentially it says it's a process, but where it's local people, not from the federal government, although there's funding from the federal government, but where local people can decide, this is important to us in our community. For example, here, we're moving into the pharmaceutical. That's coming as a spinoff from the research that's being done at the hospital and tobacco plants. My hope that manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, we're not just going to have scientists doing it, but we're going to have people working in factories that manufacture pharmaceuticals. That's what I think is the next logical step in this. And those always have to be clean, technical jobs. And I would like to see that. And you see communities develop around a lot of times. Of course, the free market does it. You can't really just direct it from government, but you're seeing it here. You're seeing particularly with the plant-based research, and then it just continues to spawn the next step in the process. And so whatever we can do to bring manufacturing, where it's not just a scientific level job, but a working level job, but in a good environment. Those are the kind of things I want to make sure. Then what would happen next, and under my bill, local community leaders would say, hey, we need to have a clean room technology person because we're going to be having we have to have Food and Drug Administration standard building to be in, and that's where you start the lab work that was required in that. To be a lab tech, you don't have to have a 4-year degree, you have to have a lab tech degree. And so, if Owensboro Community College is not offering that, and that's what the community says we need, then there needs to be a match for that. And that's what my bill really does in the essence of it.